Welcome back. Another solo episode. Today's topic is burnout. I want to talk about burnout. I want to talk about what burnout is and what potentially you can do to overcome it. And this is, burnout's a broad term, of course. And so this applies to coaches, burnout from coaching, it applies to lifters, burnout from your own lifting, to business owners. The first point of call, of course, is definitions, because we're not understanding burnout as the same thing. What I'm about to say might make no sense to you. If we are talking about the same thing, then we can have a conversation, even though you're not talking back, but you know what I mean. So we really need to get down to the brass tacks of what burnout is. The World Health Organization, love them or not, has defined parameters for what burnout actually is. So I want to talk through that now. Burnout by them is described as having these sort of features: exhaustion, detachment or cynicism, and reduced effectiveness. So, exhaustion being feeling depleted of energy, so just being generally tired or unable to recover from whatever you're doing, even after some rest. So, that would be a more chronic situation. You're just constantly tired, not recovering well. Cynicism and detachment, so becoming mentally distant, basically just giving up mentally, just not caring anymore. It doesn't matter. You don't care about, if we're talking about training, you don't care about showing up to the gym. You don't care about finishing workouts. If you're a couple of reps short, you're just like, oh, whatever, I don't care anymore. Or if you're coaching, you're like, I can't be bothered doing check-ins tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. That kind of attitude, just skirting responsibilities, being a bit salty about the whole thing, not caring in general, just having a negative attitude towards things. The final thing is reduced effectiveness. If we look at this in the language of like training, it's just output, reduced output, right? So feeling less capable or productive, you're just unable to perform essentially. So you're just not competent. That would apply more to like business or coaching as well. Like you just feel like you can't do what you're meant to do. That's what they describe as burnout as featuring, but that doesn't describe what burnout is. That's like the symptoms of burnout. It's kind of like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome is not a condition, it's a description of symptoms. And so that's what essentially I read that as. It's like that doesn't tell me what burnout is. That tells me how you feel when you are burnt out. So my very simple definition of burnout, and I've actually been called out on this before, which is fine. I'm happy to have conversations about this. But basically, you just stop enjoying doing the thing that you're doing. Like in a nutshell, that's what burnout is. It sucks the life away from whatever the task or the activity is. Now that isn't suggesting that you absolutely love everything you're doing. There's aspects of training that you're not going to like. There's exercises you're not going to like. If you're a coach or a business owner, there's aspects of that you don't like to begin with. But burnout, in my eyes, is the motivation to do even the things that you don't like as part of the passion that you have towards the thing that you do like. All of it is just stripped away. To me, that's what burnout is. Uh, so that term burnout, according to most places, when you read it, is really descriptor of other stuff. At its core, I would define burnout as not enjoying what you're doing, essentially. It's like the energy cost of doing the thing that you once enjoyed is just too taxing to even do it. Because again, in training isn't necessary. Training is hard when you're doing it right. It's taxing. It costs energy. It makes you tired. It gives you brain fog the next day when you're peaking. All of that stuff, but that energy cost is worth it because you've got the motivation towards the result. To me, burnout is when that is stripped away. If you're a coach or a business owner, you're coaching clients that you may not necessarily gel with as human beings. You might not necessarily like them very much as people, but they serve a function towards your business and you enjoy getting the result. You enjoy the challenge of working with them. You might not like getting up at 5 a.m. and driving to the gym. You might not like doing the accounting and the books and all the rest of the stuff that comes with being a coach or a business owner. But the energy cost of doing it is driven by the passion of all the things that you do love. Burnout is when all of that is stripped away. To me, that's what true burnout is. And so really the metric that we use to measure burnout then is a defined immediate decrease in performance or output. And that would apply to all three scenarios: coaching, lifting, business ownership. It's a decrease in output. And if we look at it like that, as this is now what burnout is, and this is how we measure burnout with a decrease in output, you can effectively split burnout into two categories. You've got chronic burnout and acute burnout, right? Acute burnout is like you're doing the thing and it's all going well, and then all of a sudden you're just like, I can't do this anymore right now. I need to stop. The output's gone. Yeah, in the training context, like you're having a great session, you put all your eggs in the basket of the top sets, and then maybe the first accessory. Then by the time you get to the other four accessories you're meant to be doing, you're just like, oh, I'm cooked. I'm leaving it there. That's kind of acute burnout. It's like you've given up on the spot, and normally that passes pretty quickly. It's just like, I've had enough. I need to rest and recover. I need to take a breather. I need to walk away from this right now. And normally you're back into it pretty quickly. Chronic burnout is really the killer. It's like you stack up a lot of that stuff. You stack up several of those days or several of those weeks of like, "Ah, I just can't finish off. I just can't do the thing. This is just too much for me," until it falls off the precipice and all of a sudden you are cooked and you do not want to look at your laptop. You don't want to see a client. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to lift a finger, lift a weight. You don't want to walk around the block. You don't want to do anything. That's when it becomes chronic. And the separation of the two is important because the strategies to fix either one or the other are going to change. They're going to change in magnitude depending on which one it is, right? So that begs the question, okay, this is all about we're talking about burnout. Burnout exists. We know and recognize that. What the hell do you do about it? The really short answer is you rest. So we're talking about acute burnout. That's it. If you're too cooked to finish the workout, you get to a point where logically you make a choice. Like, I can keep going. I can just push through this and it is going to beat the hell out of me. And it's probably going to make me too sore to work out the next day or the day after. It's probably going to disrupt the rest of my week. It's probably going to make me lose sleep tonight because I'm overcooked. It's probably going to make me have a bad day at work tomorrow because I'm so sore or I've got brain fog, but I'm going to push through it. That's, there's a certain level of grit that's developed through that, a certain level of valiance and respect. But if you do that too often, you're going to cook yourself and become chronic. So acute burnout is like you experience that, and the other choice is, well, I go home and rest. I write this one off. I come in next time. I make smarter decisions about how hard I go at the start of the training session to make sure I can get through all the relevant training I need to do for that particular session and finish off the week strong. If we're talking in the context of coaching or work, it's like, okay, I've been working for 10 hours straight. There's a defined decrease in my output. The task that I'm doing right now that I know should only take me 20 minutes has now elapsed an hour and I'm still not finished that task. My output has decreased. Therefore, I just need to take a rest. And that's a really important point. I very rarely talk about my own work habits because I do work really hard, but I don't wear it as like a badge of honor or as a sense of pride. But I want to give you some insight into how I operate. Because over time, the question I get from a lot of people, especially when I do mentoring calls and stuff like that, how do you manage all the stuff that you do? It's like, well, the skill of time management you develop over time. You get really efficient at working. You get really fast at working. You get faster at doing certain tasks, but you also learn the skill of, I've got an hour to do all of these things. I have to make it work within this hour. And you just learn to fit everything in. You just get better at working. And so for me personally, the best example I can use is when I fly internationally, especially if I've got a daytime flight, like a 12 or 15-hour flight, I often do Sydney to San Francisco or Brisbane to San Francisco, which is like 14 hours. The flight departs normally at 10 or 12. So I know I've got a good 10 hours if I'm, stimmed up and relaxed and on my own and uninterrupted before I'm going to fall asleep. I normally start to fall asleep at like 6 or 7 p.m., but if I'm on a heavy workflow, I can kind of ignore that. So I know I've got a good 8 to 10 hours of just like straight up, I can work. And so that's what I do. I sit there and I work basically until my eyes stop focusing on the screen. And so I slow down dramatically, or my brain just stops working and I'm going to write sentences or do tasks that I know are easy to do and I can't do them. If I push through that, I know my work quality is going to be poor to the point where I have to redo it the next day and waste time redoing it. I'm better off just saving that time to rest and recover so I'm fresh to work at high performance the next day or the next time that I sit down to work. That's acute burnout. It's like you work to the point where you can't work anymore at a reasonable output. You recognize that point and you stop and you rest and you go to bed or you go for a walk or you have a meal or you go train or you do whatever it is you need to do to chill out, to chill the fuck out. And so that becomes an easy thing, an easy metric. It's like as soon as your performance dips, you're experiencing a form of burnout. If it's acute, you can push through it, but it's going to stack up and become chronic eventually. So when you sense it acutely, take the rest. You're far better off. You got to zoom out. You're far better off from an efficiency perspective in skipping a few little things that you could do right now if you know they're going to be poor quality, poor output, and doing them better the next day or in a couple of days or whenever it may be, than you are pushing through it and burning yourself out to the point where you need to take a week off or a month off. It always comes down to that. So that sort of raises the next thing, which is like, what do you do if you are chronically burnt out? If in the training context, you're just like, I've had enough. I want to quit. I don't want to train anymore. Or in the work context, you're like, I don't want to show up. I've got responsibilities and I literally don't care about them. I have to pay rent. I have to pay bills and I just don't care. I don't even want to work. I give up. What do you do in those situations? Well, it's the same. You have to take some sort of rest. And the amount of rest that you need is relative to the degree of burnt out you are. So some people push them to chronic burnout like crazy. Some people sort of get to a point that's solvable or salvageable pretty quickly. The analogy I want to draw here, because it's probably more familiar with more people, is nutrition. So in nutrition coaching, when you have been dieting for a long time, cutting for a long time, eventually things stop working. Eventually there's a psychology around it that's just like, I'm so sick of this. I just want to eat everything in sight. And it can become a really toxic, unhealthy mindset. And what you do in that circumstance, you have a diet break. And a diet break just means like you abandon the current goal of, losing weight or whatever it may be. You return immediately to like maintenance calories, maybe even a slight surplus, and you just chill there until you're ready mentally to keep going into this deficit. And theoretically, you shouldn't rebound and lose all your progress. You should be pretty good. In an extreme case where somebody is like 1,200 calories, really unhealthy exercise habits, really unhealthy practices with nutrition, the diet break might be such that remove all structure completely. You eat whatever the hell you want. If you want to go to Macca's breakfast, lunch, dinner and get, you know, 10 burgers, go do it. Just go do it. Because I guarantee that's unsustainable. 2 or 3 days of that, you'll be completely sick of it. But essentially go do whatever the hell you want for X amount of time. It might be a week, 3 weeks, whatever it is, until you naturally start to implement some structure, and keep doing that until you're ready to implement some guided structure. So you take time off, and it's the same with training. I've done this with plenty of people with training. They're sick of it. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to follow a program. Programming is giving them mad anxiety because they've committed to 3 days. They can only show up 2 days. They beat themselves up for not doing the third day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The training break is, if you feel like going to the gym, go. If you don't go. And if you do go to the gym and you feel like doing 10 sets, 10 curls and going home, do the 10 sets of 10 curls and go home. Because before long, the novelty of the novelty wears off and you crave structure and you crave direction, you crave routine. We're creatures of habit like that. And it will happen, and generally happens pretty quickly. Same thing with work. You get chronically burnt out, you don't try and push through it. That's when you take a holiday. That's when you take some time off. And if you are someone who's committed to work, if you're a coach, if you're a business owner, there is a passion that's still burning inside you. It's just been snuffed out because you're burnt out. And so before long, a week off, you're like, oh, I haven't answered an email. I haven't looked at my phone. You start to be like, oh, I've got an idea. I want to write something. You start getting these flashes of passion and inspiration back, and then you ease back into the flow of work. It's why holidays are important. It's the same concept as a deload, right? A holiday for work is the same concept of a deload. It's not taking time off to just for nothing. It's taking time off so that when you are working, your output and your quality of work is as high as possible. So burnout exists. The fundamental solve to it is resting, but there's strategic ways you can rest. And the strategic ways you rest depend on the level of burnout that you're experiencing. Hope that helps. I think that's about as deep as I want to go. The thing I really want to finish off with is that the mind is an extremely powerful tool, and that you will believe your problems into existence. So if you're like, if someone's like, you're working so hard, you're hardly ever resting, you need to spend more time at home, you need to spend less time working, you're going to burn yourself out. You'll just start to believe that and you'll experience it. don't listen to whatever what other people say, especially if you're someone who's pushing for your own personal goals, or you've got that entrepreneurial spirit. You're a coach or a business owner that wants to push hard, or a lifter that's doing it 100% completely for yourself. Don't listen to other people's opinions of how you feel and then let that dictate how you feel. You get to figure out how you're going to feel. Now, that's not to say ignore reality. Like if you're training and you're like, I'm going to ignore how I feel or ignore what other people say and never take a deload. Well, this is not going to work. Like we know there are certain things about how this works. However, so many people stress themselves into burnout because they believe that they're burnt out, or they believe that they should be stressed. Like the amount of business coaches I see on Instagram, because I'm just targeted with that bullshit nonstop, and their posts are worded like straw man worded, or like so maliciously worded unintentionally, of like, running a business is hard, running a business is stressful. It's like, is it though? It can be, but it can also be relatively easy, or the stress is negated by the passion. Things are stressful when you have no fucking idea what you're doing. That makes sense. If you're lost and confused and things aren't working, you don't know what you're doing, you will be stressed. You don't have to be, though. Like, you can figure this stuff out. And I think that's the message people need to hear, because th- they're just pummeled with this information of like, you're going to be tired, you're going to be stressed, you're going to be burnt out. It's like, do what you do and figure out where your burnout points are. If I listened to people every time they told me that I should take a rest or I should take a break, I would have never achieved a lot of the things that I've achieved. And I'm proud of what I've achieved. And I'm happy to work hard. I enjoy working. Like, this is not just a job for me. It's an actual hobby. Like, I want to do my hobbies, and one of the hobbies I have in life is creating and working and doing what I do. There's aspects of my job I don't like, of course. This is the case with any job, but most of it is a genuine hobby for me. And because I enjoy it, I can do lots of it without having to rest and being burnt out. I get to the point of burnout for sure, but I recognize it when it's acute. I take the rest, keep moving forward. Anyway, hope that helps, and I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.